Salutations everybody, it is Maddie here today, and welcome to the Elder Scrolls 6 Wishlist series, a series designed to help dictate the future of the Elder Scrolls franchise. So what do you want to see in the Elder Scrolls 6? Let me know in the comments down below. This week, week 3, we are talking about unique weapons and armor, something that is a favorite amongst many Bethesda game studios players that has progressively gotten worse. So let's talk about it today, starting off the comment from, well, that's interesting name. Anyway, Mr. Daddy Slays wants unique weapons that actually look unique and have unique effects. You don't have to get rid of the legendary system, just allow us to earn weapons that are actually different and truly unique, giving them personality. And then I saw a couple other comments that could actually tie into this very wish. The RPG Gamer says more weapon varieties, spears, throwing weapons, exotic weapons, perhaps like the Indian blade whips. And I like this idea because the weapons he's suggesting could just be uniques on their own, right? Such as throwing spears and an Indian blade whip. These would be cool ideas as just uniques on their own because they'd just be very much separated from the pack. And the final comment that I felt could tie into this wish nicely was from... You guys make this series so uncomfortable for me sometimes when I gotta shout out your names like, oh, this one comes from Shady Cock, you know, that's what I want to say on my professional series. All right, whatever. He says, I would like to have unique weapons and armor actually look unique, not every other steel sword or armor. And that I entirely agree with. Now, I feel Skyrim did a decent job at this. The Daedric weapons were very well done in my opinion. You didn't really see anything quite like them in the game itself. Whether it was the Mask of Clavicus Vile or Valendrung or the Wabbajack, these weapons and armor had unique effects, looks to them, and so on. And I really appreciated the Daedric weapons, and I think those were most definitely the ones that had to be separated from the bunch. But a lot of times in Skyrim, you would find a weapon that was apparently unique that just looked the same as another weapon you'd found earlier, just on a dead Nord, for example. And to me personally, I find that really underwhelming. When it says unique, when it's supposed to be unique, that has to be exactly what the word says, unique. It has to stand out from the rest. You look at, for example, a Bolar's Oath Blade. We've seen multiple weapons like that in the game itself, but still, the reason why this one at least stuck out is because it had a little bit of a story tied into it, which I found interesting. That's one way I think that Bethesda could approach the unique weapons, is that if you're not going to make new models to them, have an interesting story approaching it, because Fallout 4 did that very wrong, where a lot of times it would just be going through this dungeon, killing everyone, and then at that final part of the dungeon, you'd find this boss character you don't really know much about. You kill him, he'd drop a unique weapon, you'd be like, all right, this is a really cool weapon, but I don't really know why this person had it. Why is it unique to me? Why is this special in this land? You know, that's the type of stuff we want to find out. But most importantly is that when you're doing uniques as a quest reward, that's when they have to be truly unique. The worst feeling in a Bethesda Game Studios game, or really any game for that matter, is when I bust my butt for a quest and then I go ahead and get a quest reward that is a much better version of a sword I have, don't get me wrong, but it still looks the same as the steel sword I already had, and I'm just sitting there thinking, okay, come on now, like, give me something I can be proud of. I remember in my old Skyrim videos, a lot of people used to give me crap for my stats on my weapons and my armor because I only used unique weapons and armor because I loved them so much. And a lot of people just didn't care about uniques in Skyrim because they would go ahead and head to the blacksmith and they just make their own armor and stuff that was way better than what they could find out there. So that's another thing that I think unique should approach in the next Elder Scrolls game, is that I feel they actually have to be really good, right? Something that's like, okay, this is truly unique, not only in the way it looks, in the way it has an effect, but also in its power. Now, Mr. Daddy Slays did mention the legendary system from Fallout 4, and I had never thought of that coming to Elder Scrolls 6. Now, I did like that. At first, it was actually quite confusing. I remember when I was reviewing Fallout 4 before launch, and I was writing down what I thought I was getting rare weapons. I was like, oh my god, there's so many rares in this game. This is going to be insane. I'm going to be up to my ears in work. And I found out that these were all legendaries I was picking up. I think there should be a way to identify between the two because they're both kind of labeled with the star as these uniques, but really they just have unique effects more than anything. I like the legendary system though because it makes looting more exciting, but down the line towards the end game, that legendary stuff's just not nearly as exciting. I'm usually passing up on it because I feel like my character's been stabilized, so maybe they have to find some ways to work around the legendary system to make it exciting even in a late game. But also I felt the legendary system to a degree dumbed down the uniques because the same thing in Fallout 4 happened for legendaries and uniques. You hear the same sound, you'd hear your character go like awesome or nice or something like that, and you feel like you got a unique, but you really didn't. You just got a legendary. So I feel they were too much on the same level when they're really not supposed to be. And I know it sounds kind of ridiculous, but I feel like they have to be separated. Legendaries should be what uniques were in Fallout 4, if you get what I'm saying. Where uniques in Fallout 4 were more powered up versions of your base guns, and you didn't really see much variation on said weapon. where I think that's what a legendary should be, and then apply that same logic of the Skyrim Daedric weapons to the actual uniques, where these have to stand apart in power, looks, and so on. And that's how I think it should be done, in 3 tiers: your base weapons, your legendaries, and then you have your uniques. So you have the base weapons that are just whatever, your standard steel sword, then you have your steel sword of frost or something like that, which does a bunch of freezing damage on top of your base damage, and that'll be your legendary weapon. And then you have like an icicle blade as your unique. And so I think that's how it should work, in my opinion, is in these 3 tiers, because I think that could be exciting for the gamer and really create a actual separation in what's unique and what's legendary. But nonetheless, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic in the comments down below. This series is very important that you get your feedback in there. You guys have been smashing the like button and leaving tons and tons of comments. This is my most active series, and to be honest, guys, that's important, because that's how a person's channel grows, is through your activity. So thank you guys so much for participating. I was a little nervous when I launched this series, but you guys seem to absolutely love it, and so I'm really happy about that, and I'm so excited to keep talking more Elder Scrolls with all of you guys. So let me know once again what you want to see in ES6 in the comments down below. Follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. The links are, as always, in the description down below. Check out triggerbomb.com, the place by Bethesda fans for Bethesda fans. Other than that, stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.